Game number 2 of Wild Card Sunday features our first NFC matchup of the weekend, and it is the Eagles hosting the Packers. Of course, the NFC East winners in the Philadelphia Eagles. They will get a home game against the Packers today. In an interesting matchup, we get a rematch from Week 1 in Brazil, the kickoff game. The Eagles, of course, came out on top in that game. I believe it was 34-29. I want to say Jordan Love left that game with an injury. He's kind of been hurt all year. Seems like dealing with something. He hurt his elbow last week. He was left off the injury report, which we will get into. We're going to get into the same things that we've got into all of these game previews. Go over the injury report, the betting lines, my prediction. Getting into all of that, before we get into all of that, I should say, make sure you smash that subscribe button on the road to 300 and hit the like button if you are enjoying these game previews for me. Let's get into the injury report off the top. I already kind of mentioned the injury report in not featuring Jordan Love. So we'll start with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, full participation. Of course, he had that concussion. Also, left finger is on the report, but that concussion that he sustained against the Commanders a few weeks ago, if you remember, he has been out since. A.J. Brown, full participation, knee, got some rest in. Of course, the Eagles rested their starters in Week 18. Devontae Smith, who did not participate for rest and back. Dallas Goedert, he was full participation with knee injury. He's going to finally return. Lane Johnson, offensive tackle, just some rest. And then we got Trevor Keegan and Brian Young, both out. The only two designated Eagles that are out. So getting Jalen Hurts back, that's going to be huge, obviously, for the Eagles. We will see, will there be any rust, anything like that for Jalen Hurts in this game. It'll be interesting storylines into this game, especially off of this injury report. On to the Packers. Jordan Love, of course, mentioned full participation in practice, right elbow. Of course, he hurt last week in Week 18. Christian Watson is out. They also lost him last week with a knee injury. Zane Anderson out with a concussion. Quay Walker, who had limited participation, with an ankle injury. And that one's going to be, a big one for the Packers, I think, just with the tackling that Quay Walker brings to the table. One of the leading tacklers on the Green Bay Packers. TJ Slayton, limited participation, ankle injury, and Evan Williams, safety, limited participation as well. So we'll see when we get there. Of course, with the Packers, Christian Watson, the big one that's out, Zane Anderson, the safety, but we will see how Quay Walker performs out there. All right, getting into breaking down this game, you really got two old school teams. Nobody really runs the ball more than either of these two teams, and why not? Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. I mean, Saquon Barkley with 2,000 yards this season. You got Josh Jacobs over 1,300 yards this season. I mean, huge years running the football for both of these teams. And again, Philly runs the ball the most in the league, passes the ball the least in the league. The Packers have similar numbers. I think the Packers are a little bit higher in passing, but very similar with both of these teams. Both defenses pretty good. The Eagles are really flying high, pun intended, coming into the playoffs, winning 12 of their last 14 in the regular season. I mean, there was a point in the beginning of the season where I really thought that Philly, I didn't think that they were going to be this upper echelon of the NFC. But as we get to the playoffs now, it seems like the Eagles are, 1A, 1B, really, when you look at the Lions and the Eagles. Other than that, I think any other team would kind of be a surprise to actually make it to New Orleans to the Super Bowl out of, this side of the bracket. But that's why we go out there and play the games, right? We're going to see here on Sunday, on Wild Card Sunday, if the Packers do have a chance, because I think there is a route to victory for the Packers. I say that the Eagles are hot coming in 12 of 14 wins at the end of the regular season, but in the last two games that Jalen Hurts has played a full game, he's been sacked 7 times in both of those games, and that's alarming. When you look at the Green Bay Packers, they really get a lot of pressure with that front four. And that's going to be important in this game because they got to cover guys like Dallas Goedert coming back. They got to deal with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley sneaking out of the backfield, getting into the pass game. These are the things they're going to have to deal with, and they need as many people in coverage as they can get out there. And that front four, I mean, their blitz percentage is 31st in the NFL. Meanwhile, they're 8th in sacks with 45. That's huge. That is, I think, the direct path to victory. And not only Them and Philly both are tied for 5th in the league this season in yards per carry, running backs against them. So two very run-heavy teams, they might kind of have to deviate from that plan. Just 4.1 yards per carry allowed by the Packers and the Eagles. Now, the Packers also just 3.5 yards per carry, which is 4th in the league, that they've given up to quarterbacks. That's huge. They're going to have to contain Jalen Hurts, obviously, in this football game if they're going to want to win, and they're going to have to contain his legs too. Green Bay's defense, though, has allowed 24-plus points in back-to-back games, which is alarming, especially considering they played the Bears last week. Couple of injuries, with we don't know how Jordan Love is going to be. Is he going to be 100%? We know Christian Watson isn't in the lineup, which they do have a very good carousel of receivers in Green Bay. I got Jaden Reed on my fantasy team, so, I can speak to the numbers that he put up pretty solid week by week. He had his down weeks, but you got guys like Dubes. You've also got, Wicks as well, with Tucker Kraft really becoming a big-time, or Kraft, excuse me. You're also getting Musgrave back in this game, so this offense really needs all the weapons that they can get in this game, because they're going to really have to rely on that defense to shut down Philly's offense. But I do think that we could see a game that's more like the week 1 game where, what is 34-29, high-scoring game. I do think that we could see something like that. We'll see. Green Bay has also put up 25 points or more in 6 straight games. Jordan Love also in the last 6 games, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's huge. Philly's defense, though, this is going to be the big part if Jordan Love can really try to pick apart Vic Fangio's defense. And as a Chiefs fan, I know all about Vic Fangio and his defense. That's one thing that has given the Broncos really longevity in that defense, I think, over the last, I'd say like 5 to 10 years almost. I can't remember how. It seemed like Fangio was there forever. But Fangio really developed a system that has helped offenses. He was the guy running cover 2 and going with the 2 high shell to combat the deep threat, and has put us in this almost, reverse to we're seeing more running rather than passing in the league right now, and that's accredited to Vic Fangio. And his defense this year is no different. Or no different. The Philly defense has allowed a rate of quarterbacks of just 82.5. That's 3rd in the league. 6 yards per attempt. That's 1st in the league on this defense. And against wide receivers, the rate is 84.2, which is 3rd in the league. This Philly defense has really been solid, and it's a Vic Fangio defense, and that's what is going to come up huge in the postseason. Always does. Time of possession. This is another thing. Shout out to Ramy, and we were talking about this last night watching the Ravens game. Time of possession, 32.5 minutes. They are averaging controlling more than half of the game. And I'm sure that skewed certain games where, you saw with the Ravens last night and them dominating the time of the possession in the first half. They had the ball basically the entire first half. That drive, I know I talked about it in the last review. I'm going to talk about it again. We're going to talk about it on the podcast on Monday. 13 plays, 13 runs. I don't know what the time of possession, but it was like 12 minutes left in the second quarter when they took over the ball, and there was less than 5 left. That is how you win playoff games. Take the air out of the ball. Figuratively, not literally. But, the top time of possession team in the league is the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles have a pretty good case at being able to run the table, with numbers like that. I think that's huge. So next up, let's check out these betting lines before we get into my prediction. And we will look at it now. The spread is showing Eagles at -5, over under at 45.5 points. I do kind of like the over in this game. And I don't know if it's just because I got burned by the under yesterday, but I do like the over in this game of 45.5. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw in week 1, just because I do think the offenses are going to be able to figure it out to a point to work off the run game to open up that pass game. -5. Now, this is dependent on Jordan Love, but I also question Jalen Hurts coming into this game of how close it's actually going to be. I do think the Packers can keep up, but Christian Watson is a tough loss for the Packers, I believe. I don't know. We will get into more of it in my prediction on this next part, but let me know in the comments below how you guys are feeling on the betting lines. 45.5 points. We're going over under. -5. That's a man. Vegas is smart. Vegas is smart. We'll say that. All right, my prediction for this game. So I think it'll be a back and forth game for the most part. I think Philly pulls ahead towards the end of the game. I'm going to go 34-24. Philadelphia wins this game. And again, I think it's going to stay close for most of it. I think Philly just kind of pulls ahead with a late, maybe Saquon touchdown, maybe a turnover. I do think Philly probably wins the turnover battle in this game. I don't think that. I guess I just don't have enough faith in Jordan Love. I've got a little bit more faith in Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has got a little bit of rest since his concussion. Feel like he can come back from that. Maybe be a little bit rusty, but able to put it together enough. You got a injury on your throwing arm on the other side with Jordan Love, and I just don't trust that along with Jordan Love. I think that the Green Bay offense is a very exciting offense, and I just think this is a bad matchup for them in the wild card weekend. So I'm going 34-24 once again with the Green Bay Packers falling to the Philadelphia Eagles in this wild card matchup. Eagles move on, and we'll see who they play as we have two more NFC matchups after this Sunday night and Monday night, of course. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. We're on the road to 300 subscribers. Really trying to grow a community here on this YouTube channel, talking football, mainly Chiefs football, but getting into the playoffs. I mean, it is just the funnest time of the year, so I couldn't help myself but to dive into some of these other matchups. And, of course, with the Chiefs getting that bye week, able to kind of look at some of these teams that the Chiefs may have to deal with these next few weeks. So, obviously, my content caters towards Chiefs fans, Chiefs Kingdom, but I do, talk football just in general, film breakdowns, all that good stuff. If you're into gaming, I got a gaming channel. Link is below in the description. Hit that like button if you are still here. And let me know in the comments below. Let me know your takes and your opinions on this game. Who you got winning here in this Sunday afternoon game on Wild Card Sunday. And we will see you in the next game preview.